That's exactly why I'm announcing my candidacy for the United States Senate in 2024.
Democratic Congresswoman Katie Porter has officially announced her run for Senate in California. So this is incredibly exciting breaking news. I'll get to why this is so exciting, including one of the many clips of her doing a fantastic job in her current position as a representative in California. I'll also get to her campaign launch ad shortly here, and I'll also discuss who she might have to challenge to win this seat. So there are a lot of politics going on within the Democratic Party surrounding this. So I'll get to that story as well, and also who may also be running for this position. So first here, Katie Porter officially announcing this on Twitter, saying California needs a warrior in the Senate to stand up to special interests, fight the dangerous imbalance in our economy, and hold so-called leaders like Mitch McConnell accountable for rigging our democracy. Today, I'm proud to announce my candidacy for the U.S. Senate in 2024, and I'll get to her announcement video in a second here. But I'm going to just first show you, if you're curious about, if you don't know about Katie Porter, you're new on the scene, you can go to my YouTube channel here and just search, go to the search bar here, the little search thing, and just type in Katie Porter. You will find many clips of my coverage of her. She has been just a gem in the Democratic caucus through her just short time. 2018 is when she first joined. So this is why, first of all, in terms of just the ability to win, why this is so exciting, because Katie Porter campaigned as a progressive Democrat in Orange County, in a district that had never had a Democratic representative. So this story from 2018, of course, she went on to win that seat, flipping it. They wrote here, AP at the time, saying the coastal county southeast of LA was home to Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan, once likened it to a Republican heaven. And this is the district that Katie Porter flipped. Taking a look at the history of it here. So it was, I guess, at one point redistricted in 83. So that's when it started. See, Republican, 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 and then Katie Porter. And now the district has been changed again. So now Katie Porter's in the 47th district, which is why you now have a Republican in this district, but it's all the lines have changed. So it's a different district now. But so this is where we get to her announcement video. And again, after this, I will showcase the fight happening within the party around this seat. But first, let's watch her launch video.
We're living through a time of extraordinary change. I'm Katie Porter. Change can be electrifying and exhilarating, but change can also be disruptive, like the constant assault on our democracy and the dangerous imbalance in our economy. The threat from so-called leaders like Mitch McConnell has too often made the United States Senate the place where rights get revoked, special interests get rewarded, and our democracy gets rigged. Especially in times like these, California needs a warrior in Washington. That's exactly why I'm announcing my candidacy for the United States Senate in 2024. I don't do Congress the way others often do. I use whatever power I have to speak hard truths to the powers that be, to not just challenge the status quo, but call it out, name names, and demand justice. That goes for taking on Wall Street and the big banks, big oil, and big pharma. It's why I refuse to accept corporate PAC and lobbyist campaign money. I don't want it. And I'm leading the fight to ban congressional stock trading because it's just wrong. To win these fights, it's time for new leadership in the U.S. Senate. If you agree, please go to katieporter.com and join my campaign for the U.S. Senate today. Thank you for caring about the California we can build together.
All right, so pretty solid ad there, and it gives you an indication about of why she was able to flip that seat, because she is an actual populist. So, you have these fake populists like Josh Hawley, a Republican in the Senate, who pretend to be for the people, really cares about the people. But he's a guy who worked in corporate law before joining the Senate and has worked his entire career as a lawmaker to try and claw back workers' rights. You can't pretend to be a populist and be anti-workers' rights and pro-corporations. But Katie Porter, an actual populist, and look, from experience, So I post these videos, of course, on YouTube, also on Facebook. Facebook, a much more conservative audience there. The algorithm there is just, if you're watching on Facebook, it's terrible. But these videos get served up to conservatives. And one of the only times I see conservatives actually appear to like a politician that is on the left is when I play clips of Katie Porter, because she is always sticking it to some corporate executive who's full of crap. And you have someone like this that has the ability to not only get typical non-voters out to vote because she's not your standard, corporate politician, but you also, based on her history, winning the seat that she won, has the ability to actually potentially flip Republican voters to her side as well. Now, let me get to, and I'll get to again, another clip from her work in Congress in a second here that is very impressive. But this is for Dianne Feinstein's seat. So Democratic Senator Dianne Feinstein is still a senator, has not announced that she is leaving. I'll get to more on that in a second here, but as Axios writes, Feinstein, who is 89, has not said if she's running for re-election, but Porter will put significant pressure on California's senior senator to decide. Both the California sitting senators have not publicly said if they plan to leave their seat. So Alex Padilla is the other senator that was put in to replace Kamala Harris when she became VP. But this is for Feinstein's seat, meaning she's either going to have to primary Dianne Feinstein, or this will hopefully put enough pressure on Feinstein to finally retire. And look, the issue here, this is not ageism. The issue isn't her age, even though she's 89. That isn't the issue. The issue is that she has been unable to function as a senator. So there is a lot of reporting around this. One of the bigger stories came out in 2020. Dianne Feinstein's missteps raised a painful age question among Senate Democrats. So there is a lot. Again, I linked to all my sources below the video under sources in the description box on YouTube. If you want to read through the piece and you missed this before, you can. A lot of examples of how Feinstein is just not functioning properly. And that was, again, reiterated in 2021 and in 2022. This is from April of last year. Bad and getting worse. Dianne Feinstein is losing her memory, concerned Senate sources say. So they go on to right here. The Chronicle spoke to 4 U.S. senators, including 3 Democrats, 3 former members of Feinstein's staff, and 1 California Democrat in Congress about how the longtime senator has been losing her memory, that she often fails to recognize colleagues, and that she is no longer able to engage with the job in the way she used to. The California Democrat recounted a recent exchange in which they had to reintroduce themselves to Feinstein several times over the course of a single conversation, and that Feinstein kept repeating questions like asking what mattered most to voters in the lawmaker's district. Quote, I have worked with her for a long time and long enough to know what she was like just a few years ago, always in command, always in charge, on top of the details, basically couldn't resist a conversation where she was driving some bill or some idea. All of that is gone, they said. She was an intellectual and political force not that long ago, and that's why my encounter with her was so jarring, because there was just no trace of that. Look, this is, of course, a tough conversation for someone in that position. It can be hard to breach a conversation like this, and apparently they have breached this conversation with her several times, and she forgets that they had the conversation. So if it comes down to a primary challenge, then that's what it comes down to, because you can't continue having someone like this in the Senate who just is not at all functioning. Now, there's another name that was floated in progressive circles around who may also run for the seat, and that name is Ro Khanna. I really hope he doesn't run for Senate now, because first of all, it would hurt both Ro Khanna and Katie Porter, because they would split the vote, the more progressive vote. But on top of that, I don't think Ro Khanna would have a chance against Katie Porter. That's my opinion. I think Katie Porter has more cross appeal than Ro Khanna does. But Ro Khanna also was, apparently this is from last year, being pushed by the Bernie Sanders camp to run for 2024 if Biden doesn't. So we'll see where that goes. But in terms of the Senate, I hope Khanna does not decide to run. Now, before I get to the 2 other Democrats that may run for the seat against Katie Porter in a primary, apart from Feinstein, I'm going to show you an example of, so I covered this video. This is 9 months ago. an example of why Katie Porter is so impressive. So this is during I believe, a hearing on healthcare.
Dr. Collins, what percentage of revenue do private insurance companies spend on administrative costs?
Between about 17 to 18% of spending in private insurance plans.
So if I pay my insurance company $100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, $17 go to administrative costs. What about Medicare? What do they spend on administrative costs?
That range is about 3 to 5%.
3 to 5%. About 3 to 5%, right here. And if we look at just billing costs, just billing and insurance costs, Medicare is at 1%. Wait, private companies spend 17 times more on administrative costs than Medicare? What are private insurance companies spending on that Medicare is not? Does Medicare spend hundreds of millions of dollars on television advertisements like private insurance does? Dr. Collins?
No.
Does Medicare spend millions of dollars on stock buybacks to shareholders?
No.
Does Medicare spend money on marketing? Private insurance likes to put its name on stadiums and PGA tournaments. Is there a Medicare arena?
No.
Does Medicare spend $23 million on executive pay like private insurance companies do?
No.
We know how much it costs to run a high-quality health insurance program. $1. Out of $100, research shows that Medicare spends 1.1% on administrative costs. We spend $4 trillion on healthcare every year. We could save $200 billion on administrative costs with Medicare for All. And those savings, they could go to expand Medicare. We could spend that money to let patients see dentists. We could spend that money to let patients pay for hearing aids, to help older adults afford eyeglasses, to bring down the cost of prescription drugs, to finally pay mental health professionals for the work they do. Instead, all this money is wasted. We're not talking about paying to keep the lights on in operating rooms or improving the quality of care. All this money is used to pay big insurance to push paper. It's death by 200 billion paper cuts. Now, administrative costs waste money, but they also waste healthcare workers' time. A recent study found that a majority of doctors, 56%, support a single-payer healthcare program. Why? Because today doctors spend only 1/4 of their time with patients. What are they doing with the rest of their time? Paperwork. And I want to add, not only would 50 to 56% of doctors support Medicare for All, but patients would have the most choice under Medicare for All. The health insurance coverage with the biggest network is Medicare. No private insurance comes close. 99% of non-pediatric doctors participate in Medicare. So I want to recap. Medicare for All would save money on administrative costs, $200 billion a year. Medicare for All would give patients the most choices, 99% of non-pediatric providers, and Medicare would let doctors practice medicine. Not surprisingly, given these three things, what do we get with Medicare for All? Better health outcomes.
And there I am. So Katie Porter is fantastic at what she does. Now, look, no lawmaker is perfect. I'm sure her voting record isn't perfect, as I don't think there's a single individual in Congress who has a perfect voting record. But based on what she fights for, based on the fact that she takes no corporate money, that she actually fights for people, that she actually cares, that she has shown the ability to flip a deeply red district. This is the choice for Senate in California. And if you want more on Katie Porter, again, I've covered her many times. You can watch her pummel Steve Mnuchin. That was amazing as well. You can see her here exposing defense contractor to his face. So I will I'll link to this query below the video, but all you got to do is just search Katie Porter in the search bar here at the top on my YouTube page. But last thing, the other two that may run in this seat or try to run for the seat in a primary, Representatives Barbara Lee and Adam Schiff. Neither come close to Katie Porter. So I think it's clear. I also think the voters in California, I think for them it would be clear. This is also why it's very important that no other progressive runs, or, you know, a person that appears to be progressive runs for this seat, because that would just split the vote. So again, Ro Khanna, don't run, please. You would just split the vote and you'd end up with Adam Schiff as your senator. So let's hope it's going to be Katie Porter. We're going to have to, of course, wait to see how this all plays out. And if Dianne Feinstein gives up this seat, or if she's going to have to be primaried out, that'll be a very interesting fight to watch as well.